The mainstream media fawns over Biden's cabinet picks, even going so far as to compare them to the Avengers. And staff of a publishing company, they're left in tears after they find out the worst news of 2020. They'll be publishing Jordan Peterson's new book. And Alyssa Milano felt it was time to extend an olive branch to Trump supporters. How sweet. We've got all that and much more coming up, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I'm Hillary Kennedy, filling in for Sarah Gonzalez while she's on maternity leave. Day before Thanksgiving, we finally made it. The day before, counting calories doesn't exist, at least for tomorrow. Fun fact, I read that about 4,000 calories goes into your Thanksgiving meal. So that means you got to really savor it, make sure you pick your favorite things to eat. So Stu Bergier, host of Stu Does America, what would you say is your favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving?
My favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving is scrumptiouscookie.com. I make sure that when I have ordered these for Thanksgiving, I'm very excited about it. I will say I'm very excited about the cookies, as I always am. But also my mom's mac and cheese is coming this year, which is really exciting. My aunt makes amazing food of all types. My cousin makes all these amazing breads. I mean, I freaking love Thanksgiving, and I'm very much dreaming of it already.
Absolutely, me too. And then Mr. Pat Gray, host of Pat Gray Unleashed. What's your favorite?
Rolls.
Yeah. Bring on the carbs.
Yeah, carb overload.
All right, well, now that we've talked about something pleasant.
Well, you didn't answer yours. What's yours?
Oh, man, I really like pie. Pumpkin pie is one of those things that I don't crave pumpkin pie. We always had like one pumpkin, one cherry, one apple, so I'm a big apple pie fan. So the apple pie, and probably, we called it dressing. I know some people call it stuffing, but I like the dressing.
Yeah, people who are insane call it dressing. I know that.
Right.
Those crazy people
stuff it into the turkey.
Right.
So
it is stuffing, but you call it dressing. That's interesting.
The stuff that's got the cornbread mix in it. It's really good. All right, so we've talked about something fun. Now we get to talk about something that some people are really kind of getting worried about. So Biden's kind of been slowly picking all of his cabinet, and the media has just been going nuts over it. He introduced several cabinet nominees and White House advisors, including Secretary of State nominee Antony Blinken, National Security Advisor picked Jake Sullivan, Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas Greenfield, and then newly minted Special Presidential Envoy for Climate John Kerry. Now, MSNBC had a panel discussion, and here's what they had to say about it.
Talk about Joe Biden's empathy and humanity, to talk about diplomacy being back. It is all an implicit rebuke of Donald Trump's foreign policy stewardship over the last 4 years.
That's right. And in just saying that they're going to do their job and be good stewards of America's role in this world and focus on American diplomacy, that in and of itself, being a rebuke of President Trump is underscores what we've all been living through in the last 4 years, which is a president who wanted to be more isolationist, who wanted to pull back. The other thing I'll just say is I was talking to a Democrat who just said this also felt like the Avengers. It felt like we're being rescued from this craziness that we've all lived through from the last 4 years, and now here are the superheroes to come and save us all.
All right, compared them to the Avengers. Interesting. NBC Nightly News anchor Lester Holt, he also said they're very experienced and a very diverse group.
Worst Avengers movie ever. These boring dolts that have been in the government forever, and he's just a bunch of retreads largely, who are going to embrace a Biden foreign policy, which is terrifying. I mean, but Biden has been wrong on every major foreign policy issue since I've been aware of his
including he didn't want to go after Osama bin Laden.
Yeah. He tried to.
He admitted.
Yeah, he admitted
he didn't want to do it. His advice to Obama was don't do it. Okay.
Laughable.
Great. That'll be great.
I remember he's also the guy who wanted to carve up Iraq into 3 different countries, which I think he should have actually probably embraced during the campaign. That was probably one of his better ideas as the way things turned out. It's not a huge surprise here that the Democrats are they're lit on fire by this 78-year-old boring white guy who's been been designing his cabinet. I keep coming back to this. People talk a lot about the fraud stuff that's going on, and that continues to go in court and all of that. That cannot be won on social media. It cannot be won on the news at Why It Matters. It cannot be done on Pat Gray Unleashed or Stu Does America or whatever. It's going to be won in the courts if that's going to happen. And it's very easy to imagine if this were to occur and Donald Trump were to win, it would be very easy for us to adjust to that world. Donald Trump is president already, right? He already has a cabinet. We kind of all were hoping he was going to win this election. So that would be easy to adjust to. What is happening while everyone's talking about that and continues to go down that road is he's naming all these people and we're not talking about them at all. There's no deep conservative fact check about Blinken's past, right? We know John Kerry pretty well, which is one of those guys, but like there's not that dive in. When Obama was naming these people, conservatives were like, all right, here's why this person's a problem, or maybe why this person's okay. But you want to go and look at the backgrounds of that. It's all being ignored right now. And I think that's, we're not going down, we don't keep our eye on the ball, then crazy stuff can happen over here while we're looking over here. There's no reason for everybody to ignore that because this is a court proceeding and it's going to go on whether we like it or not. It's going to go on and the result's going to happen to us and we're not going to be able to win it on social media.
I do appreciate his pick for Secretary of State, though, Antony Blinken, from Winkin, Blinken, and Nod. I thought that was a good pick. And I guess Winkin and Nod are going to be two of his main deputy assistants.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think foreign policy is really going to take a turn for the better with the three of them.
I like your optimism there.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, so Joe Biden did say that he would be open to nominating a Republican that voted for President Trump in the election in his cabinet in an interview with NBC's Lester Holt. Let's take a listen to that.
Have you considered, for the sake of national unity, selecting or nominating a Republican, someone who voted for President Trump?
Yes.
So far away.
We still have a lot more appointments to make. I want this country to be united. The purpose of our administration is, once again, united. We can't keep this virulent political dialogue going. It has to end.
Should we expect an announcement?
No.
Not ever or not soon?
No, not soon.
Or ever.
No.
Or ever.
Long silence. Yeah.
This will be totally forgotten by the time he's picked Democrats and extremists for every single position.
Well, he was asked if he would consider Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, and here's what he had to say about that.
What about former rivals from your own party, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren? Have you talked to them about cabinet positions?
Well, what I've talked to, look, as I said, we already have significant representation among progressives in our administration, but there's nothing really off the table. But one thing is really critical. Taking someone out of the Senate, taking someone out of the House, particularly a person of consequence, is a really difficult decision that would have to be made. I have a very ambitious, very progressive agenda, and it's going to take really strong leaders in the House and Senate to get it done.
So do you think that he would rather have Warren and Sanders in the Senate than in his cabinet?
I don't know that he wants to. You look at his early picks. He's picking no one that would overshadow him, right? These are all kind of milquetoast, zilches that no one knows anything about. So I don't think
retreads.
Retreads. Yeah, these are people. These are long-term loyalists largely. I don't think he wants the big personalities. He doesn't want to have to tell Bernie Sanders no, because then he loses some of his base. But be clear about who Joe Biden is. Joe Biden ran for president with the most progressive, liberal, extreme set of policies of any candidate in U.S. history. Full stop. He wanted to spend, when Barack Obama came in with Joe Biden as his vice president, he ran on spending $1.5 trillion in additional spending. Biden ran with $6.5 trillion. Now, it wasn't as much as Bernie Sanders, who was $97.5 trillion. I grant you, he's definitely to the right of Bernie Sanders, but that does not make you a moderate. Karl Marx was probably to the right of Bernie Sanders. That's not a way you measure a moderate candidate. People trying to, he's right. He is running with an ambitious progressive agenda, and he is trying to implement a cabinet with a lot of progressives already represented there. I think people are always talking about the big names. Biden, he may be doing the right thing here if you are a leftist, which is put in people who are just as progressive as Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders without the brand names. Put them in there, let them do their thing, and let everyone say, well, there's discord in this administration. They won't put Bernie Sanders as the labor secretary. They can find a Bernie Sanders that you don't get the baggage of Bernie Sanders with. And I think that's been the way Biden has run this campaign from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. I've Matt, do you think that Biden is sincere when he says that he wants to unite the country?
No. I mean, his rhetoric doesn't back that up at all. And it hasn't from the beginning. And he said that all through the campaign, that he wanted to be a uniter and he was going to unite the country again. But that's not the way he acts. That's not backed up by anything he says or does. And you're not going to be able to unite the country when you've got a bunch of extremists with an extreme agenda in the cabinet and in your administration with you. That's not a good way to unite.
I wouldn't be surprised if he names a Republican to one of these posts in the mold of a John Kasich or one of these guys that spoke out against the Trump administration. And a never Trump
Jeff Flake,
type. Jeff Flake.
Find a place for him.
Totally, you could see that. Look, this happens every single administration. Donald Trump vetted Tulsi Gabbard for a role in his cabinet. This is not completely insane that it would happen. It's just not real. This is not a real message of bipartisanship. They don't care about that, obviously. What they care about is trying to find people who will toe that line. And a lot of these supposed Republicans that seem to have Republican policies long in their past, they pulled this sort of Joe Scarborough transition where all of a sudden they don't have them anymore, but they still have that. Colin Powell, every freaking 4 years, we got to hear that Colin Powell announces the Democrat like it's a freaking news story. Guys, we know.
Voting for Democrats forever.
Forever. I mean, at least until the administration he was in, every single time there's been an opportunity, he's voted against Republicans. Why is it a news story when he tells us he's voting for a Democrat?
Yeah.
Well, AOC, I'm sorry, we aren't besties, so I can't color that. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, they are boosting a petition against Joe Biden nominating his former chief of staff to a new role in his administration, calling Bruce Reed a deficit hawk and then criticizing his past support for Social Security and Medicare cuts. So it sounds like not everybody on the left is happy with his cabinet picks. So there is a chance that maybe there will be some sabotage going on within the party, don't you think?
Much of this is theater, right? We saw this with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Joe Manchin having this little battle. Remember this from a week or two ago? Manchin comes out and says, well, no matter what happens in Georgia, I'm going to be out there and I'm going to oppose packing the court and I'm going to oppose these things and I'm going to be very strong on that. That's theater. And then Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez comes out and says, I can't believe that bad Joe Manchin. He's way too moderate for me. I can't believe we're not going to be able to get all these crazy socialist things passed. And it's this is a message to voters in Georgia to say it's okay to elect a Democrat. They're not going to do the craziest stuff. Don't worry, Joe Manchin will be there to save you. Joe Manchin will not be there to save you. I promise when that vote actually matters, Joe Manchin will be voting with the Democrats, as he always does. When it matters, he's always with the Democrats. When the Republicans win the vote by 10, he'll side with the Republicans so he can keep his seat in West Virginia. This is, I think, there are going to be things that the progressive left does not like about a Biden administration because Biden still has that old school politician in him. He's trying to give the appearance of bipartisanship, to give the appearance of working with the other side of moderate nature. It's not real. And I will say, the American people showed, I think, pretty clearly that they don't want that AOC school of politics. I mean, the presidential race, is one thing, but you look at the other side, the Senate, the House, the Republicans did very well. And then when you analyze every House race in the entire country, the person who underperformed the presidential race more than anyone in the entire country was Ilhan Omar.
None of us.
She did worse than every other candidate in the Democratic side or Republican side, any incumbent.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
And let's not forget, it may not be Joe Biden for very long. Is he more moderate maybe than the squad? Yeah, probably. But is Kamala Harris? I don't think there's much difference there between the squad agenda and Kamala Harris's agenda. And, I really believe within 6 months to a year, Joe Biden's out.
Could be. Yeah, it's a real possibility. That's for sure. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Keeps. Have you noticed that your hair isn't looking as full as it used to? I'm not talking to anybody here at this table.
Thank you. My hair is beautiful.
But let's talk options if you have. You can go to your doctor for a hair loss treatment prescription and then visit the pharmacy and then just try not to go broke to avoid going bald. Or you can try Keeps from the comfort of your lazy boy at home, because you're going to get the same doctor-recommended, FDA-approved hair loss treatment, but Keeps offers the generic version for about half of the cost. And one thing that you'll love about Keeps is it's all online. You just answer a few questions, you snap a few pics of your hair, and then a licensed doctor will review your info and recommend the right hair loss treatment for you. And then it's shipped directly to your door. So why make those unnecessary trips to the doctor and the drugstore when you can do all of it at home? So let's get you started with a special deal. Go to keeps.com/Y for 50% off your first order of Keeps hair loss treatments. That's keeps.com/Y. We'll be back in a minute. Penguin Random House in Canada, they announced on Monday that they would be publishing Dr. Jordan Peterson's new book. And apparently that announcement left some of their employees in tears. Now, if you don't know who Peterson is, he's a University of Toronto professor. He kind of rose to prominence as a vocal critic of the Canadian government's Bill C-16, which sought to establish gender identity or expression as a prohibited ground of discrimination under the Canadian Human Rights Act. Really intelligent guy, has a lot of great writings, but so they've taken on his book, and Vice's Manisha Krishnan, she broke the story and said that the staff felt their employer ambushed them with this news. He's negatively impacted their lives. One told her he's an icon of hate speech and transphobia, and the fact that he's an icon of white supremacy, I'm not proud to work for a company that publishes him. I don't understand how, I mean, first of all, he's a very well-known guy. He's writing a book that will probably sell millions of copies and help support these employees and keep them in a job, and yet they feel like they need to speak out. So Random House said, we've got this forum where our employees can have a space to express their views, offer feedback. They have an anonymous feedback channel. They fully support it. They said they want to answer their questions, but they also said, hey, we're committed to publishing a range of viewpoints.
How dare they, Hillary?
So why is it that if someone has a difference of opinion, all of a sudden they're just automatically branded as evil? Because that's essentially what some of these employees said about Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, the left has a real fascist problem right now. They just don't want to hear any other viewpoint other than anybody that agrees with them and their worldview. Same kind of thing is happening at Spotify with Joe Rogan, and the employees there get together and cry every day about his podcast.
I cry about lots of podcasts in my life because I'm that weak of an individual.
I do too. And I don't know if I can live with that podcast being out there in space.
I mean, you're seeing this Glenn Greenwald, Matt Iglesias. These are people on the left that are leaving their organizations saying our media organizations, Vox, is infested with so many crybaby young, 23-year-old, safe space types that they can't hear anything they don't agree with. Right. This is insane. I mean, Jordan Peterson is, in reality, not controversial. Right. He is. Yes, he said. Basically, like, I shouldn't be put in jail or be fined because if someone's a guy and then they decide the next day that they're actually a woman, I'm going to still call them a guy. I'm not going to recognize their weird reality. They can say they're a woman if they want, but I'm going to still say it's a guy.
And you support that hate speech.
I would never understand. I mean, like, that's just, I'm
going to go in the corner and cry right now just because you talked about it. I'm going to go in the corner and cry.
But his book is 12 More Rules for Life, which his last one, huge bestseller, 12 Rules for Life. And basically it's about, people call him this toxic masculinity icon. It's basically like, hey, be a man. Stand up and be a man. Listen to just a couple of these. I pulled them up. This is the 12 rules. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Oh my gosh, that is controversial. Treat yourself like you are someone you are responsible for helping.
Why would you ever say something like that?
Make friends with people who want the best for you. Whoa! What? This is crazy.
I almost vomited right there. I threw up a little bit in my mouth.
Compare yourself with who you were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. Gosh, what a terrible piece of advice that is. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. That seems pretty safe. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. These aren't crazy.
This man is like Hitler.
Yeah, almost. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Again, he's talking about that would be if he was a conservative, which he's not really. I mean, he's not really a hardcore conservative by any means, but like listening to someone who might have a more liberal opinion than you on something and trying to learn something from them. Right. Be precise in your speech. I mean, these are not hateful pieces of advice. I assume this next book is going to be on the same front, or if it's a bunch of white supremacist tips, I will be with you and stand with you. I think it's a bad idea.
This all started kind of with the participation trophies, did it not? I mean, we've raised this whole generation to think that nothing in their world should ever be askew. They should never have to hear anything or see anything. I mean, we had the red pencil on their paperwork at school that was scaring them, and so we stopped using red pencil. I mean, all of these things that they've been coddled and babied over their whole life. So now they're in the real world. They're earning a living at places, and anything that challenges them in any way, they can't handle it. They just can't handle it. What they should be told is, get the hell out and go home.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they should be told.
Yeah.
You don't work here anymore. This would be my answer when I heard
you're
that.
fired.
You're working at a place that publishes books.
Right.
With varying viewpoints. Like the whole point of writing is supposed to explore viewpoints. You're not supposed to get thrown out of society over it. It's insanity.
Ridiculous. All right, well, we do have time really quickly for AOC. I'm going to go ahead and just say it. I don't have to call you by your full name. On Monday, she was really upset. She was tweeting about the coronavirus relief package stalemate, blaming Republicans. She said, people across the country are going hungry. COVID is set to explode, and Mitch McConnell dismissed the Senate last week. I don't know how these people can sleep at night. I really don't. Well, Ted Cruz wasn't having it. He wrote back and said, why is your party filibustering $500 billion in COVID relief? And Joe Biden's cheering them on, thinking that blocking relief somehow helps Dems with Georgia. So they got into this back and forth, and she basically said the House doesn't have filibusters, Ted Cruz. We also passed several COVID relief packages to the Senate, and that not only include $500 billion, but also prioritize helping real people as opposed to Wall Street bailouts. And he basically said, you seem not to know that there are Democrats in the Senate, or that Joe Biden, also a Dem, is publicly calling on Senate Dems to continue filibustering COVID relief because he thinks it will help them win Georgia. All right, so quickly, what do you think about the exchange between these two? I mean,
she is dumb. Really dumb. There's just no other way to state it. She's constantly showing how dumb she is. And she doesn't seem to have any shame over how stupid she is. I mean, this is any idiot reading that tweet from Ted Cruz would recognize he specifically said your party because he wasn't talking about the House. Yeah. You don't think Ted Cruz, a guy who's argued in front of the Supreme Court how many times? A guy who literally memorized the Constitution as a child and can recite it word for word from the beginning to the end. That guy doesn't know there are no filibusters in the House. She's so outwardly dumb. It's amazing. I honestly forget the House. It's amazing that people like her exist in the world. She is so stupid. I don't know how she gets through the day.
I don't either.
Every day, it's got to be a massive challenge for her to wake up and get to bed at night. That whole period in between has got to be impossible.
Well, do we remember when she moved into the new apartment in Brooklyn or wherever the heck she is right now, and she was looking at the thing in the sink and wondering what the hell it was?
Yeah.
What is this weird thing that makes noise and it seems to be eating stuff I put in it? Yeah, it's called a disposal, Puddin'. It's a disposal. And they've only been around since about the early 50s. So maybe you haven't heard of them yet because they're pretty newfangled. But that's how stupid she is. She doesn't even know what a disposal is.
Hearing you guys say it out loud just made the whole day worth it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. AOC is dumb. Good night, everybody.
All right, we've got more. More to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Gabby. You know, you're probably overpaying on car and home insurance. Sure, you'd love to save money, but is spending hours on your own shopping for a lower rate to maybe save a few bucks, is that worth it? Probably not. Do what I did and use Gabby. Gabby does all the work for you in just a few minutes. And get this, Gabby customers, they save $961 per year, and that's on the average. So Gabby takes the pain out of shopping for insurance by giving you an apples-to-apples comparison of your current coverage with 40 of the top insurance providers like Progressive or Nationwide and Travelers. You just link your current insurance account, and in just minutes you'll be able to see quotes for the exact same coverage you currently have. So that's what I did. Using Gabby helped me realize I'm actually paying the best deal right now. So I have peace of mind knowing that I'm not overpaying at this moment, but it's nice to know I've got Gabby to go to show me multiple quotes and see that if I'm paying too much or not paying too much. So like I mentioned earlier, Gabby customers, they save $961 per year on average. And I bet that would be so nice to have in your pocket every year. If they can't find you savings, let you know so you can relax like I did, that you have the best rate out there and they're never going to sell your info. So no annoying spam or robocalls. You're probably overpaying on your car or home insurance, so see how much Gabby can save you. It's totally free. There's no obligation. Go to Gabby.com/Y. That's GABI.com/Y. Gabby.com/Y. We'll be back in a minute. I know there's a lot of us that have been concerned that we won't be able to fly without a COVID-19 vaccination, because that's been a pretty real fear, and it sounds like it is coming true. Qantas Airlines says if you don't have one, you probably won't be able to fly on their airline. This came out in a report this week from the New York Times. The Qantas CEO, Alan Joyce, said they're not doing it yet, but they are likely going to require their passengers to show proof of a coronavirus vaccine when the time comes in order to travel internationally. They're saying, please have a vaccination before you get on the aircraft. Whether you need that domestically, we'll have to see what happens with COVID-19 in the market. But certainly for international visitors coming out and people leaving the country, we think that's a necessity. It sounds like Korean Air and Air New Zealand, they're both considering those same mandates for travel. Now, the Prime Minister in Australia said there are always exemptions for any vaccine on medical grounds, but that should be the only basis. Here in America, there's a religious exemption to avoid getting a vaccine. Do you think that there's a chance that might not be the case any longer?
Look, I don't think any vaccine should be mandated. I mean, as everyone may be familiar, I want Bill Gates to stick me with any needle he has hanging around. I don't even care what's in it. It's just he can vaccinate me, stick needles in my arms whenever you want. I'm very pro-vaccine. I'm really optimistic about this vaccine. I really would like to go back to normal life. The one thing that I think you can look at, but I don't think the government should be mandating that. One thing that I think you can be optimistic on, if you happen to be a person who does not want to take the vaccine, and there are many in our audience, one of the best things about the results of this is they were looking to shoot for 50 to 60% effectiveness. What's coming out of these studies is 95%, 90%, 95%. If that's real, and there's a huge asterisk on that because we're basically just taking a press release at this point, we don't know all the details, but if that holds up, it would only be control to make people need to get vaccinated. Like if you figure that right now, probably 15 to 20% of the population has already had COVID, right? Including me. I'm a COVID survivor, as you may know.
Walking miracle.
You know, walking miracle. Thank you. That's exactly how I describe myself, but no one's ever said it to me before. So that's 20%. If you look at polls, it looks like about 60% of people would be friendly to taking the vaccine in the first few months. There's like about 20% of people who are like me, just like, I'll stick any needle you have in my arm. About another 40% are like, let me wait like a month or two just to see if everyone explodes. Mm-hmm. So about that 60%, if you just get that 60%,
it's probably enough.
It's probably enough. I mean, especially if it's 95% effective, you're basically at herd immunity with just the group that's had it plus that vaccine group. Yeah. So hopefully, because, capitalism, the Trump administration with Operation Warp Speed and all the things that have come together to make these vaccines as successful as we think they may be, if that comes together, we won't really need to face these sorts of questions of whether the government's going to mandate and all of that. I really hope we avoid that. I think in red states, you're probably going to be pretty safe on that front. But you're in Gavin Newsom's state, Andrew Cuomo's state, I have no freaking idea. I don't know what's going to happen here.
I think there might be some mandates, especially with this Democrat administration, if it comes to be. And I'm still counting on the Supreme Court overturning the election, mind you. But if through some bizarre thing that doesn't happen, I think I think you'll probably have to have it to go to school. I remember taking the polio vaccine when I was a kid. It came in a little sugar cube. Everybody had to take it. You guys probably didn't, right? Because by the time it came to you, enough people had been vaccinated to where we were immune now. And polio wasn't an issue now. Same with rubella, same with measles. I mean, we've eradicated a whole bunch of diseases that used to be widespread. So we're pretty good at this. And we've never had to do, like, you can't go to work without it. I don't remember any airplane restriction before. I'm hoping we'll be able to avoid it. But I think in the beginning, it might spread to other airlines, and I would think sending your kids to school would probably be required.
Yeah, I mean, Ticketmaster is an example of this, right?
Yeah, they've already
kind of said yes, they're going to do that. The question is, I think you can't avoid private companies doing this. They're private companies; they can kind of do what they want to do. I'm much more concerned about the government mandates, but I do think that, like, over time, if these things work, and that's still a big if, but if they do, there's real hope here. I mean, you might not have to deal with it. You might not have to take it. And we may be able to get to a level of enough immunity to slow the spread so much that it's not much of an issue.
We mentioned schools. Vermont is going to be questioning school children when they get back from Thanksgiving break about what they did while they were gone, and if they got together with people that were outside their household. If they answer yes, or if they traveled somewhere, if the children answer yes and they're telling the truth, then they're going to have to return to remote learning at home for 2 more weeks, or if they have a negative COVID test, they only have to quarantine at home for 7 days. The school is operating on trust with parents and their students to give honest answers about how they spent their Thanksgiving holiday. How do you think that's going to go? Especially parents that are exhausted having their children at home doing the online remote learning. That's tough.
Parents love when the school is invading into their personal lives and asking them a question about their holidays. It's a huge thing.
I know, I love that.
I know.
That's great.
I mean, look, people are, it does seem like less people are doing gatherings this year, after they've been harangued into it over and over again. I think a lot of people are just going to do their gatherings. They're going to get together with their families. They're going to do what they can. I think most people are taking the basic precautions that if you have an older person with a serious pre-existing condition, maybe they're not coming this year. Maybe we check in with them on the phone this year. If you happen to live in a good state like Texas, it's going to be 71 degrees. So I know for like our gathering is going to be outside because it's going to be awesome. I like eating outdoors. When it's 71 degrees, I'm all in. That sounds awesome. That's a great thing. If you can do ventilation, I did this thing. It's actually at the top of my Twitter feed at Stu Does America pinned. Go check it out because there's a Washington Post map that came out that showed if you go, what are the chances of you having someone with COVID-19 at your dinner table? And it shows the map's all red. It's like lit up, like some areas, 100% chance. So I go through and pick apart what they've done. First of all, they made the red scarier and darker and brighter on the Washington Post map than the actual source map. I found the actual source program and went through the study. And they chose all the scariest propositions, all these assumptions that make absolutely no sense. The assumptions that we're making in March, they're carrying, like when we didn't have any tests. Now we're doing 2 million tests a day. They do all these things to make the map look as scary as possible. But at the end of the day, and it's in this thread if you want to see it, there are things like opening up windows if the weather is nice. If you can have two doors open on diagonal parts of the room, the ventilation cleans out the air every 7 minutes, where if you only have one open door, it's like 45 minutes. You put a fan in the corner blowing out of the room, it increases the air circulation and improves your chance of avoiding it if it comes to it. People are going to live their lives, but stuff like that you can do. It doesn't invade your world at all.
You're not having to wear your mask in between bites.
Exactly.
That's why we're doing our Thanksgiving family reunion in Antarctica this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, outside.
Perfect.
Outside
what a
in
great
Antarctica.
idea.
Yeah, that really good ventilation, I understand. And I guess the chillier weather helps to kill the virus.
I don't think you can go to Antarctica without a vaccine.
Man.
Right.
Pat always doing his part for the greater good. All right, we got to go to break. We'll be right back.
I love the outdoor thing because
Up north, you can't.
Just
in the
twist
north,
that
there's no
outdoors.
freaking way you could do that up north.
I mean, we are doing it.
This is our News and Why Celebrity Minute, because we're going to tell you about Alyssa Milano. She's extending an olive branch to Trump supporters. She tweeted, "I would like to extend an olive branch to Trump supporters. I'm ready to move #forward together. There's so much work to do to heal the nation. Let's be part of the solution and not add to the problems we face. My comments are open. Please reply with #forward together." So now that Biden's president, she's all about extending that olive branch, huh?
Yeah, too late. Sorry. That's really not the Christ-like way to look at it, but I'm kind of done with her. And I'm sure she's trying to save her career, and she hopes that people will go to her movies again if she ever does one, although I can't imagine who would ever want her in one. But maybe she can do an exercise video or something, and maybe people would watch that if she makes up to them, but no.
Nope.
I'm not getting her exercise tape either.
Look, I don't care enough about what Alyssa Milano says to make up with her. I didn't
What?
care when she was mad at me, and I don't care,
Really?
that if she's trying to reach out. It does. The problem with this is it just feels so fake. You can't
It is
call
fake.
everyone who supports Donald Trump a racist Nazi, and then the next day be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we won. Here's your olive branch." I think like Glenn kind of did this. Glenn tried to do this at one point and kind of reach out to the other side and say, "Look, there's been a lot of fighting back and forth, and sometimes I did some stuff that I'm not crazy about that I did, and I think you guys have done that too. Maybe we can talk this out." And they were very receptive at that point. They never did it themselves, though.
No,
they never did
never.
They never took their side and said, "Yeah, we've done some stuff too." It was always like, "You know what? Good job, Glenn. You're admitting you were bad."
Right.
And now the same thing is happening here. Now that we won, it's okay for us to say, "Look, we're looking for outreach to you guys." And what that means, by the way, is you must now agree with us. And if you agree with us, we'll take you in. I have no interest in that. I mean, I really did have an interest of being taken in by Alyssa Milano when I was 11 and she was on Who's the Boss. I really loved her back then. Very convinced I was going to marry her someday. Don't care now, though.
Aren't you glad that didn't work out?
Oh my God!
I mean, you dodged a bullet there.
The wishes you make when you're 11, you don't. Please don't make them come true.
Yeah, just to remind people before we move on, she said the entire GOP should be tried for treason, but now she wants to be your buddy. All right. So let's talk about a couple of other celebrities. Chris Evans and Zach Braff, they want a list of Trump enablers. So Braff tweeted, "Never forget all these enablers." And Chris Evans, "Captain America, I'm disappointed in you." He said, #remember who said nothing. So Trump opponents, they've really kind of taken an opportunity to threaten people now that in their minds, Biden is going to be the president. Why do they say they're never going to forget the Trump enablers? I mean, as if Trump supporters are ashamed, because guess what? They're not.
Right. They're, Trump supporters are incredibly proud of being Trump
Absolutely.
supporters, and they're not shy about it either. So, these actors are, I don't understand, quite frankly, why they do this and eliminate about 50% of their potential audience and fan base. It just doesn't make any sense, and they just keep doing it. And apparently they don't care. So good luck. Who cares if you're going to not forgive the Trump enablers? Maybe they're not going to forgive you either and go to your stupid movies and fund your Hollywood mansion.
I mean, look, it's easy to plan for the best. I like to plan for the worst. And in the worst case scenario here, right, Joe Biden is going to become president. But let's be honest about what that means. All of this back and forth about whether he's trying to steal the election and all these court cases and all the elections getting overturned and fraud and all that is a blip. It's an asterisk of this election at the end. If that's what happens, we're going to come back and we're going to be on the schedule that the Constitution lays out. As you might think, well, he should have been nicer and called Joe Biden on election night, or whatever you think should have been the thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if he even concedes.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter. He
has-
still leaves the White House on January 20th.
Throughout Al Gore versus Bush, which was obviously a very, very close election, I wanted Al Gore to just call up George Bush and concede. I did. I mean, that's what I wanted to happen. But he wasn't required to do this. And eventually he wound up doing it after he exhausted all of his legal options in his
Right.
own words. So we are on schedule. Like, yes, this is a crazy sort of chaotic time, and I understand why people don't like some of the things that have been said, some of the things that have been tweeted, some of the things, Sidney Powell and other, from the legal team have said. But this is not, it is less important than people are making it out. Donald Trump is, if he loses and none of this stuff works, is going to leave office on January 20th. That's what's going to happen. And on December 14th, the electors are going to go through their votes, and we're going to know at the end what happened. There is no reason to obsess about these things because it is out of our control. Before the election, you can tweet stuff, maybe you convince a voter. Right now, it doesn't matter. We are in a legal process that is going to play out however it does, and at the end of the day, Joe Biden is going to be the president of the United States, or Donald Trump's going to be the president of the United States, and we'll all move on with our lives. At least I know the Republicans will. If Donald Trump somehow turns this around, I don't know that the Democrats will play along with it.
Yeah, that's a different story. And on January 20th, if all of his court battles are unsuccessful, you're not going to need the Navy SEALs to show up, as they have said, or the Army Rangers or Delta Force to remove him from the office. He will leave of his own volition, and he'll go home, and he'll probably continue to say the election was stolen. Yep. So did Hillary Clinton. Yep. So what?
He's a billionaire he's married to a supermodel. He'll live.
Right,
He'll
like
be
he's
okay,
going to be
guys.
just
He'll be okay.
fine. But if he is declared our president again, I want everybody to keep a close eye on what Alyssa Milano is tweeting in that situation. All right, we got to go to break. We'll be right back.
There will be no more olive
It'll
branches.
be, I was going to say, it'll be interesting what she has to say then. Her and Zach Braff and Chris. All right, I asked you yesterday, how many people are you celebrating Thanksgiving with? 64.9% of you said 7+ people. That's right. You go, America. You celebrate how you want to. Today's question, would you comply with another lockdown? I didn't really comply with the first one, I got to be honest.
I was here every freaking day.
Every day.
But I'm essential.
We're essential.
We're essential.
That's
the
thing.
It's hard for us to understand.
So,
Essential, special.
Yeah.
All right, so you have some holiday gift ideas for us too before we leave for today. Tell me about those.
If you're doing Christmas shopping, I have great stuff for you. Available in all sorts of colors. We have sweatshirts, t-shirts, mugs that say this. It's a picture of a cityscape on fire with a Christmas tree in the front. It says, "It's not a riot, it's a mostly peaceful tree lighting." So the tree is lit on fire. And also we have the Santa Claus plus Antifa. It's Santifa Claus. He's got a Molotov cocktail, a baseball bat, and ready to beat the hell out of anyone who comes in his way. He'll come down your chimney and he'll light your house on fire. Santifa Claus is here to save the day.
That actually looks like an extremely comfortable sweatshirt as well. And I love it because this is the perfect gift for those of you who answered or have family or friends who answered in the 64% that you're having 7+ people.
Yes.
You're obviously our people because you're really kind of fighting the power there. So this is a great gift for that person.
It is. I think people will like it. And by the way, I should mention, we have a few more Nancy Pelosi Sucks pens available. NancyPelosiSucksPen.com, or you can go to StuDoesMerch.com, has all the stuff there. But we ordered what we thought was enough for the entire holiday, and we are going to run out like this weekend. So if you want to get them for stocking stuffers, the Nancy Pelosi Sucks pen, you got to get them right away.
Get it now. All right, so if people want to watch your shows, follow you guys, know what you're up to, where can they go?
I am at Stu Does America on Twitter. Of course, you can find us on the Blaze, 8 p.m. Eastern. Also on Instagram and all the other social media places, and podcast. If you can subscribe there, I'd appreciate it. YouTube as well.
Pat Unleashed on Twitter. YouTube.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Why do I know this and you don't know it?
Something or other there, and wherever podcasts are available.
And very quickly before we go, I have a serious question. When do you eat your Thanksgiving meal? Do you eat it early in the day, or mid-afternoon, or evening? Because I've always eaten it early in the morning, and people think we're nuts.
In the morning?
In the morning?
Well, like 11 a.m.
Wow.
So it's like
But people think we're
lunch,
crazy. Yes,
a
but
brunch
we've
almost.
always eaten it at that time, and I didn't realize other people were eating it like 2 in the afternoon.
The turkey is done and cooked by then?
Grandma
by
would get
11?
up really early. Yeah, she'd get up at like 3 in the morning. Yeah.
I don't know. That's a lot.
So we're weirdos. So did you guys
That's
do
too
like
early on
mid-afternoon?
Thanksgiving.
I feel like I'm
Yeah,
early to
mid-afternoon.
mid-afternoon, which I think is still pretty early. Like
Okay.
we used to do like 2 o'clock maybe, and I don't know what we're doing this time, but like we would always have controversy that it was too early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you're just weird. Is what I'm saying.
That's
I
pretty
guess
much what
I'm
it is. Well, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
In Houston one year, we kept hearing how great